So we flipped a coin. Stuart either won or lost, but he's going first. So let me talk to you just briefly about Stuart. Stuart Pimm received his PhD in biology from the University of New Mexico, go Lobos. And since 2002, he's been the Doris Duke Professor of Conservation Ecology at Duke University, go Blue Devils, in Durham, North Carolina. Among many honors Dr. Pimm has received, the Edward T. LaRoe Memorial Award from the Society for Conservation Biology, an honor for leaders who translate principles of conservation biology into real-world conservation. And the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences awarded him the A.H. Heineken Prize for Environmental Sciences for research on species extinction and conservation. And since 2004, he's been a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. The 2010 Tyler Prize for Environmental Achievement is being awarded to him in recognition of his contributions to conservation science and the application of theory and technology to conservation biology. He's being honored for his work to delineate the structures of ecological food webs, to examine the consequences of losses in species diversity, and to develop theory and empirical analysis to address the conservation of endangered species. Dr. Pimm's nomination for the Tyler Prize was initiated by E.O. Wilson, an emeritus Harvard University professor and himself a Tyler laureate. And when E.O. talks, it's good to pay attention. The nomination was supported by several notable names in conservation, among them Thomas E. Lovejoy, former president of the Heinz Center for Science, Economics, and the Environment, and currently the center's biodiversity chair. In a letter of support for the nomination, Lovejoy said of Dr. Pimm, "He is clearly one of the leading conservation biologists in the world today, and someone who does not shy from going beyond to see that the science is implemented in conservation. He is in the prime of a career that is truly exceptional." Ladies and gentlemen, 2010 Tyler Prize laureate, Stuart Pimm.
Obviously, I am thrilled to be here. I have thanked the committee already. Let me thank them again. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, but it's also an honor for the field of conservation science. When I first went to Hawaii in the late 1970s and saw species that are now extinct, saw others that are hanging on by their fingernails, we had no name for this field. I went to a meeting in Michigan. There are reasons to go to Michigan. And at the School of Natural Resources, we had a meeting and we came out of it and said, we're going to do this thing called conservation biology. And we're going to found a journal, and we're going to found a society, and we're going to find a discipline. And that was 25 years ago or thereabouts. This is a very new field. And so I am thrilled that the committee for the Tyler Prize has not only honored me, but honored the field of conservation science. I want to talk about a number of things, but I don't want to talk about most of what I usually talk about because it's unrelentingly depressing and people go away, you know, and throw themselves off tall buildings, cry in their beer, and all sorts of other unsociable activities. So I'm going to get rid of the bad news first and talk about solutions. And I think one of the things that unites the two laureates this year is that both of us care about practical solutions. When you listen to Al Gore tell you that species are going extinct to 100 to 1,000 times faster than they should be, I hope you wondered from where he got that. You now know. Not that he actually mentioned my name. But species, nonetheless, species extinctions are irreversible. And as I shall show you, they are geographically concentrated. I shall talk about the fact that tropical deforestation is the main driver of terrestrial extinctions, and I'll talk about what it takes to stop extinctions. Now, as you've already seen, I have a faculty appointment in Africa, at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. And I spend a good chunk of my time worrying about much the same issues as Laureate does. So I'm going to concentrate today on a different continent and a different set of problems. In a recent book, modestly titled The World According to Pimm, A Scientist Audits the Earth, I got that title because I didn't have a good title for the book. I was walking along Central Park with Katinka Matson, my agent, and she said, you know, we don't have a title for your book. I think it's The World According to Pimm. She paused and said, do you have a sufficient ego to handle a title like that? And I assured her that I did. In The World According to Pimm, I talk about the big numbers. Our human population, now at 7 billion. What we're doing to the oceans, what we're doing to the drylands of the world, but also what we're doing to the forests, particularly moist tropical forests. And we are shrinking them rapidly. This is a map that you might not fully appreciate unless we can have the lights down a little bit more. It is not the map that you see when you look at Secretary of State Clinton do briefings at the State Department. I think you can see the outline of the continents, and you can see that this map is a deeply challenging map politically. You notice that the United States is relatively small, Greenland looks really tiny, and Africa looks huge, and South America looks huge. This is a map that it is hard for Americans to appreciate, not because we have grown up with that school map of Mercator where we look big, because this is a map based on a soccer ball. Soccer is a game that everybody in the world plays, but we do not. And this year in South Africa, there's going to be an international match of soccer, and it might just get onto the American news. Now, for those of you who are not soccer challenged, I want you to think about what a soccer ball is. What is the shape of a soccer ball? Do not tell me it is round. We have some people who understand soccer. Thank you. It's a mixture of pentagons and hexagons. Imagine mapping the world onto a soccer ball and then getting a pair of scissors and cutting the soccer ball and laying it flat. And if you do that, you get what is technically called the Buckminster-Fuller projection. And this totally radical view of the world has the great advantage that it does show you how relatively large different pieces of it. Africa, Governor Palin, is not one country but many, and it is 3 times the size of the United States. That is my contribution to the American Tea Party. When you look at that, you notice that there's a lot of green, but there's a lot of red. The green is where forest remains, and the red is where forest has disappeared, most of it within 50 years.